Hi, welcome to Noise in the Gallery, an inspirational podcast. My name is Joy Nkoyo and I'm a musician from London. For this podcast, I want to take a dive into the minds of some of the most fascinating, innovative musicians I know. We'll be discussing their influences, their journey into music and creative process, and I'm hoping to pick up some new ideas along the way. If you want to get inspired with me, stick around. Today's guest, Mensah, also known as ABS.TRK, is a North London-based music producer, sound designer, and artist in his own right. His most recent EP, Nowhere in Particular, was described by New Wave magazine as transcendental, taking sonic inspiration from Flying Lotus, MadLib, and Kanye West.
I had just come out of hospital, and so this was like back in 2016, I think. And I'd had like a stroke, right? And I couldn't speak in a sense, like I knew what I wanted to say, I just couldn't form the words. I've had 3 big strokes, and then there's these things called mini strokes, but like I feel like they don't count. The hospital was in Camden, and I remember like when I was out, I'm just there like, oh my god, air, like fresh air, and like you hear these like ambient noises that make the city. I was just there like, yeah, cool. I want to go on a journey, or like, you know, make stuff with artists who really get what I'm trying to do and I get what they're trying to do, and then make it in a sense. And I don't really care for like if people listen or, you know, don't.
So I'm going to start off with a quote from your Twitter page. Wrapped in mystery, the unique sounds of North London producer ABS.TRK.
Yeah, I need to change that.
What would you say now, if you could write yourself a little bio?
I don't know. It's that's a very good question, because my end goal is to become like a visual artist. So like combine audio with visuals, but like I am in a bit of a
transformation.
Yeah, and like it's just I sort of like, I'm not, you know, you can never master anything, but like I wouldn't confidently say I'm good at visuals. I'd say, I don't know, I'd say I'm in a bit of a transition in a sense.
I'm happy that I get to talk to you now during this time.
Okay.
Because it's going to offer a bit of an insight into the mind of an artist, what these periods are like. Because I think even the biggest, like say musicians we can think of, they have periods of change, right? And transformation. And we don't really see that. We kind of see
the end product.
Right, the end product. And so this is going to be interesting, I think. You are a music producer. You've released music, right?
Yes.
Can we talk a bit about your releases?
Okay.
Is that cool? So your first one, Woodlands, right?
Yeah.
I've seen the words transcendental and ambient thrown around to describe your music. And yeah, I would 100% agree. I'm going to read out the track titles. Cool. The track list, first one is Break Lights. Then Ocean's Breeze. Birdwatcher. Woodlands. And outro.
'Cause
There are some references to nature in the titles, like Ocean's Breeze, Birdwatcher, Woodlands, etc., which is kind of interesting, it being an electronic EP. The music does have quite an organic feel to it. Like some of the synths almost resemble acoustic instruments, like strings, that kind of thing. So what's the story behind the EP? How did it start?
Woodlands was... I had just come out of hospital. And so this was like back in 2016, I think. And I'd had like a stroke, right? And I couldn't like speak in a sense. Like I knew what I wanted to say. I just couldn't form the words. But the only thing I did have was like my, not this laptop, but like my old one. And I was in hospital for like 3 weeks or something. I remember Sem and Akeem visited me once. And like I wanted to have conversations with them, but like I couldn't.
Just for listeners, Sam is a music producer who Abu actually introduced me to through this organisation called Gain Control, which Sam runs.
Yeah.
And he sort of mentors young artists. And Akeem also went there. And Sam's just a legend. He's produced for all kinds of artists like Professor Green, Maverick Sabre, Lily Allen.
Yeah. But yeah, Sam bought me this Clash magazine. I still have it today. I've got like the Travis Scott one, which is like back in the day. I got the Vic Mensa one, and I got the J Hus one. And I remember the one he bought me at the hospital was like J Hus on the cover, and it was just very orange. I don't know, like there was nothing for me to do. I was like walking in the hospital on the ward because they wouldn't let me leave the ward and stuff like that, right? And then like there's all of these like sick people, really, really, really badly ill, and I'm just walking and chilling and stuff like that, just like on the ward. And then I'd go to this guy and I'd be like, "Oh, how you feeling today, John?"
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So were you in a specific ward for people who like surrounded by other people who'd had strokes, or?
So in the first week when I went into the hospital, I was in like A&E, and then I got quickly moved to this acute stroke unit where everybody had strokes.
Wow.
And then like in the second week, they were like, oh, "Okay, cool, this guy, like he's sort of better now. Let's move him on to like another ward, right?" But the ward was because they didn't have like enough beds on the ward I was meant to go, so they put me in what's it? It's like there's a word for it, but like it was just old people, old men, right?
Geriatric?
Yes, it was just old men, and it's just like it was so weird because some of them were ill, like really ill, right? And then others were just, you know, sort of homeless. So they would like break their arm in a sense just to get like a warm bed and like get fed and stuff, which was very, very sad.
How old were you at that point?
I was like 15, 16, and I'm just there like surrounded by all of these old men. I remember I was in a bed where the person on this side hated the person on that side. And so, like, they just used to fling insults to each other, like, because this guy used to snore, right? That would keep everybody awake. And then this guy was ruthless. He was just like, "Shut the fuck up." Okay.
And you're there in the middle of both of them.
And then my mum complained a lot. And then I got moved to this ward with younger people. I got moved on the Monday. I was out by Wednesday anyway, because like I was already better. But yeah, but going through that, like I was just, you know, I don't know, I didn't know anybody there in a sense. Like I couldn't really talk to people because they're all old and shit. So like I was just making music, and then I remember making brake lights, right? and then sending it to Sem. And Sem at that time was working with Amy's Yard.
Amy's Yard is a charity set up in Amy Winehouse's name.
Yeah.
That basically works with young artists who are having a hard time, facing difficulties, struggles in their life.
Yeah. So he had the studio that Amy Winehouse used, right? And then, I mean, I couldn't speak, so I just sent it to him, and I was just there like, oh yeah, this is what I'm making and stuff like that. And then he sent me a video of it being played out loud in the speakers in Amy Winehouse's studio. I was just there like, oh wow. And he goes, yeah, this sounds sick. And then he goes, yeah, just like send me a lot more tracks and stuff like that. And then he helped me with the composition and stuff like that. And then Woodlands happened.
That is just an incredible story.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you managed to make that music from your hospital bed, essentially. I can't imagine, not having a voice and not having control of some pretty basic things and being able to turn that around and make something so good from that. So you had those 3 weeks in hospital. When you left, were you kind of free to carry on relatively as normal? How long did rehabilitation actually take?
Yeah, rehabilitation took, it was, again, so because I was already walking, like eating and stuff like that, the only thing that wasn't there was my ability to speak. So they were like, oh yeah, let him out. So then I left, and I was just there like
when you were trying to talk, that's what was coming out.
Yeah, like the and then they recommended me speech therapy. And then I did the speech therapy, but like on the first week when I went, she was just there like, when did you have your stroke again? I was just there like, oh yeah, like 3 weeks ago. And she goes, really? Why are you speaking, like, why have you recovered so much in a sense?
Yeah.
Because like, I wasn't speaking like I'm speaking now, but like I could read, but read as if I was like a toddler or something. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And it's just like, So then next week comes around, I go and like I'm speaking so much, and then she goes, really, what's happening here? And then she goes to the doctor, right? And she goes, I don't know, I don't understand. The doctor comes in and he goes, yeah, I think what's happened is because you're young, your brain repairs itself like at a faster rate. And then like I remember I was entering the doctor's after a girl who had a similar case as me had just left, and she was crying because she wasn't, I guess, progressing as fast.
Yeah.
They basically just charged me off of speech therapy, but that was only because I put myself in like positions where even if I wasn't talking, people were talking around me. So like I was in those spaces, mentally something ticked. So like, oh, okay, if this is how you respond to this situation. Just read a load of comics as well. So yeah.
Wow. So it like affected your processing as well, like how you were thinking about language.
Yeah.
It wasn't like you were just the same in your head, but then it wasn't coming out. It was like, was there like a block in your brain as well?
It's called aphasia, when you know what you want to say, but you just can't say it.
And you can't like form the sentence in your head before. Wow, I've never heard of that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah. And then after that 2 weeks, I was just, I was free to do what I wanted to do. So I just got out of hospital and then did absolutely nothing for the rest of that year. I don't know, just so down. I did try to go back to uni, but like I wasn't happy in the sense. So I'm just there at home chilling. My mum's going to work, my brother's going to school, I'm just there, just like at home, doing absolutely nothing. And you're just at home all day, and it's just, it's like really demoralizing.
Well, I think, by that point you'd been through a hell of a lot, and, to be university ready, where you kind of dropped in this new environment, and it's just a lot. I think most people would struggle with uni without going through what you dealt with. So,
like, I love it when, like, I have routine. I don't necessarily follow the routine, like I'm late to everything, but I like it when I'm told to be here at a certain time. It's God knows if I come on time to that thing, but like
it's there. It's in the
it's
diary.
Just like it's routine. Do you know what I mean? That's one thing I liked about school was okay, cool. At 8:45, I should be here, right? Whereas like when you take that thing away from me, it was like, what do I do now? Like, how do I entertain myself? Do you know what I mean?
I think that disruption happened at such a crucial point as well, at age 15 or 16, when you're starting to really think about your future, right? You're making plans for your A-levels.
This was like, I was already in university, so like I was like 18, 19.
But when the stroke happened?
Oh, so the stroke happened when I was in university. I've had like loads of strokes, so it's very hard to, what do you call it?
Oh, really? Okay, so I didn't know that.
I've had 3 big strokes, and then there's these things called mini strokes, but like I feel like they don't count.
Okay, that puts it in context. I understand.
So I went through this. My first stroke happened when I was like 6 or 7. When you're like that young, you don't really notice things.
It's normal. You don't have that outer world.
Like the only thing is, I'm missing school. Okay, well done. This is good, right? But then, when like my second stroke happened, it was okay. And then the third one, because I was a bit older, I was just like, and I sort of got into this whole thing of like, well then, what's the whole point of doing anything if I'm at this disadvantage that I didn't even put myself in a sense? Like I was like really philosophical about it. I was just there like, so all men aren't equal,
But it's kind of true in the sense that why should you sign up for this, like, I guess you'd call it a kind of conveyor belt life where you do your A-levels and you work hard and you go to uni and you work hard, because then you know that at any moment this kind of disruption can occur and you feel insecure. You're kind of like, I can put in all this work, I can be giving my 100%, I can I can do everything right, inverted commas, and still have things taken away from me. And that's completely understandable.
And that's the thing that really, really got to me. But yeah, I was really depressed for like those 2 years that I had to stop uni. So then, and I just did music because that was the only thing I could do in the hospital. I remember we went to like the hospital was in Camden, and I remember like there was this one time there where they were like, we're going to go out and walk with the physiotherapist, right? And I was just like, oh my god, I'm going outside for like 2 hours. I legit thought I was on like prison and I was on day release. So then when I was out, I'm just there like, oh my god, air, like fresh air, and like you hear these like ambient noises that make the city. I was just there like, yeah, cool. And I think that sort of like was in my mind when I made brake lights and stuff like that after.
That's really interesting that you were super tuned into all the sounds around you, possibly because of not being able to speak. Your senses might have been more awake. Who were you listening to at that time? Like, who were you sonically inspired by?
So there was like this Mura Masa. Mura Masa has this like mixtape of beats, and I used to listen to it religiously, right? And I'd go from top to bottom, 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 bottom to top. I was legit obsessed with Mura Masa. Not so much now because his sound has changed in a bit. In one of his songs on that EP, he used bird sounds, and I was just there like, oh, okay. I might take this, not the actual like the sounds he used, but like I'm gonna find something else that, you know, does that same effect. And I think that's why I always, whenever I make like a track, I always go into the effects and then add white noise, pink noise, da 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 beforehand, because I feel like those things there set the tone and mood of the track. So then whilst I'm listening to that pink noise or white noise and all these effects, I will then play what I'm feeling in a sense. But yeah, I stole
It's like
that.
a backdrop for you.
Yeah, I just took that from Mura Masa because like Mura Masa uses loads of like real life sounds in his music and stuff like that, or he used to do it.
I'm curious about the process, like in terms of what software you used. Was it a lot of samples, I'm assuming, because you couldn't really go and collect sounds? So were they samples you already had, or were you in the box using Logic?
So Break Lights was made using Ableton.
Ah, cool. I didn't know you used Ableton.
Yeah, I was doing some research, right? And I was just there like, what are these guys making music on, right? So Mura Masa uses Ableton, Flying Lotus uses Ableton, Knowledge uses Ableton, and like Flume uses Ableton, I think. And I was just there like, well, who uses Logic? Like, no one's using Logic.
What is this Logic?
Yeah, I went to Sam, right? My music sounds bad because I'm using Logic. And he goes, James Blake uses Logic. Who the hell? And I'm just like, who's James Blake? But yeah, so I then
15-year-old Joy would have just stabbed you there. I was a James Blake fanatic.
He's so good, man. But
Yeah.
what'd you call it?
That's funny.
I'm just there like, I'm not listening to Sam. I'm going to download Ableton, right? And then I downloaded it, right? And then like I came into Game Control the next day, and then he goes, oh, so do you know how to use it? I just said like, give me a moment. I'm gonna learn how to use it. But yeah, I did eventually learn how to use it, and you know, make some beats in there. And then so Break Lights was like the first thing I sort of completed within Ableton. But yeah, and then the rest of the EP was done in Logic because I was with them. We slowly built out the tracks and stuff. My favorite tracks from that were Outro, because Outro was played by my good friend Amal, and I was meant to expand on it and stuff like that, but like I don't know, I just thought it was a very good way to end it.
I really like that track.
Yeah.
Was this project the first time you actually released music, and was it the first time you made like a body of work?
So like I don't want to say I'd been making beats for a year, but like I wasn't, you know, making substantial beats in a sense, or like, you know, the only thing I'd ever released on my SoundCloud up until that point was this remix of East Coast that by ASAP.TRK that I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's just even more impressive that that's the first proper thing that you worked on, and so inspiring that music served as a light in what must have been a very dark time.
Yeah.
And I think knowing the story behind the EP does really give it a depth and makes it much more powerful. So, yeah, hats off to you. I'd love to talk about your next EP, Nowhere in Particular. It's very, very different to Woodlands. It has a completely different mood, much darker. So I'm going to read out the track list, okay? First is Are You There? Do You Still Think About Me? Do You Remember? And All I Can Do. I think it feels like you're questioning everything around you, trying to retrospectively make sense of things as well.
Yeah.
Also, it was released in 2021, which was the year after the pandemic. I don't know how that fit in with you writing it, if it was influenced by that at all or not. What was sort of going on in your mind when you started making this EP? How did it come to fruition?
Oh, yeah. So, Nowhere in Particular, I had small sections of like different things. Like I don't want to call them beats because they're not beats, but like I had like chord progressions that were saved for later. I don't know when. I spent like the rest of 2019 and 2020 just writing it and composition and stuff like that. And then the tracks, like I said, I had different like sections of different beats and stuff, and I did want to include like singers in it as well. Like there are vocaled versions of some of those beats.
Oh, interesting.
But like
you do a little B-side release.
This is the thing now though, because I wanted it to be dark sounding and stuff like that. And then like you get all of these singers singing about hope and stuff. I'm just like, no, you're ruining it.
Did you have the titles already there as like a guide, or no, you were just like, this is a beat?
I had abbreviations for Do You Remember, because that was one of the ones that was vocaled. Yeah, I did want to have something like another tape in a sense, which was vocaled, but like I just didn't. I don't know. I just felt like because it's already out as instrumentals, you kind of want to hear new stuff in a sense. So yeah.
I mean, sonically, it sounds like you're using a lot of different techniques compared to the last EP. It's more sparse. There's a lot of reversing and warping of sounds, which made me think of time passing and reflection and stuff. And there's also more sections in the music, like you'll just randomly switch halfway through a track to something completely different, which is very disorientating and disjointed. And so, yeah, was that intentional? Like, what were you looking to do sonically with the music?
There's this guy on YouTube, and he has like this beat channel, and he just like makes type beats and stuff. He's called Nixa or Nix. I don't know how to say his name, but like I think he's Irish, right? And on his channel, he has this like this beat that a Kanye West type beat where it's sort of like Life of Pablo, Jesus is King kind of vibes, where there's like this choir, right, and they're singing, and then everything drops out, and then you hear the drums, and it's just boom, 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 boom. I want to have segments in my beats in a sense where like it doesn't all have to relate in a sense. During that time as well, I was heavy into my Kanye West
production.
Yeah, and I was just there like, okay, cool. I'm gonna listen to Yeezus.
Yeah, I mean that's a masterclass in just like chopping completely contrasting sections of music and just having them like interact with each other. Just quite cool.
And the one song that I kind of like listened to as well was what's it called? Beautiful Morning. What's it called? It's like the second track on that album, Life of Pablo.
Father Stretch My Hand.
Yes,
part 1.
Yeah, Father Stretch My Hand part 1, and I was just there like cool because that's
a lot of tracks on that one. Track names,
yeah. So I think that was it. Like it was just trying to be sort of different because my biggest worry on that EP was because I don't know how to play a lot of chords and stuff, and you'd kind of like realize or like catch on to my formula of making chords, which is why I reversed a lot of them as well, time stretched them as well and stuff like that. And like sometimes what I would do was like get like a good chord structure, reverse it, cut stuff out of it, and then mess with the say for example where I'm going for 4 bars, right? I'd put the first bar in the third bar slot, and then swap that with the third bar, so that it's like it's more. It just doesn't sound as if it was, played on a piano and stuff. But yeah, I'm very into like selection stuff, and there's this like selection producer called Jay Lewis, and Jay Lewis makes beats for Bryson Tiller, and Bryson Tiller is a very dark, has a very dark R&B style. And then another track that was really influential on it was Teenage Fever by Drake.
Okay. Where
he sampled that J-Lo song, If You Had My Love, da da da. And then there's this like really augmented piano, because there's a bit where it goes, I don't know what it is, but it goes and it's just like drooping in a sense.
Yeah. And it's been just messed with in some way.
Yeah, and I'm just there like, what is that? And I was really like looking at the credits and stuff. Who was in that room at that time? Noah 40 Shabib, obviously. T Minus, who made the beat. And I'm just there like, okay, cool. I'm going to learn how to make beats like that. And then I learned this one cool effect that Noah 40 Shabib does. And that's basically reducing the sample rate of the track. So you'd have like the full instrumental, and then he'd put like a plug-in on the master, and it would make everything sound underwater in a sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I did with like a lot of with basically every track on that EP. So I don't know, I feel like with this EP, I kind of went into more musical, I need to like know how to do these techniques and stuff. Whereas with Woodlands, it's more, I was just relieved to be free in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did do a lot of like research in making Noah in particular.
Yeah. I think you can really hear that. And I can hear your progression from Woodlands to Noah in particular. I think you've sort of progressed as an artist quite a lot in that space of time. I think we should talk about the video, especially because you said at the beginning the direction you want to take is more in that audiovisual sphere.
Yeah.
And the video is absolutely stunning. It's on Vimeo, right?
Yes.
You should all go and check that out. So tell me about the process making it and like what your vision was. Did you direct that?
So my friend directed it,
okay,
right?
Cool.
His name is Ryan. And I met Ryan at university, and one day he goes, "Are you working on any music? I'd really like to, visualize that in a sense." And I was just there like, "Well, yeah, I'm kind of making this EP and stuff." And then he goes, "Oh yeah, like just send it to me like once you're done with it." And we didn't speak for like a couple more months. Ryan then he sent me this like treatment of stuff that he wanted to like do in a sense, and it was like bits of old music videos and stuff. And so the one bit where Shaq the dancer is dancing in front of that old warehouse stuff, right? That was taken inspiration from a Koji Radical video.
Interesting.
When Bismarck, my friend, is walking through the field, that is from a Sonder video, which is Sonder Too Fast. I wasn't meant to be in it, but Bismarck came late and just didn't want to waste time. And so it's just like taking bits of like what we enjoyed visually and then stitching it all together with like my music. And a lot of people who I sent the video to were just, they're like, "Oh my God, this is amazing. Da 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 da." It's okay for like my friends to tell me it's good because, I kind of know it's good. But like, when people like complete strangers come and say, "Oh my God, this is a work of art" and stuff like that. And I remember I went to Spider.
Oh, Spider. Spider's a living legend that lives... Oh, he doesn't live in the Roundhouse. He works at the Roundhouse that we both know, by the way.
After like 2 years of not being in the Roundhouse, he was like, "Wow, you need to go to the BFI." It didn't tell me who to go to the BFI, so I didn't go. But like, what do you call it? He was like, "This is BFI, like this is BFI work." But yeah, I spent like nearly $1,000 of my own money. But like again, if you're doing...
It looks more expensive than that, I'll tell you.
Exactly.
Because you filmed it on film, right?
Yeah.
Which I think was great, a great decision. It's hard. Is it harder to use film? I feel like it's more technical.
So when you're using film, like you can't do takes, like you have to get it right the first time. Yeah. And because we used film, that was the one that cost a lot, so like we had to get it developed and stuff like that. But yeah, that was like £600. But yeah, like everyone who worked on it, like for example, the cameraman was a guy called Charlie Knight. Charlie, I followed him on Instagram after the shoot. Like he shoots for Vogue.
Raw.
He shoots for like all of these big companies and stuff, right? And then like Ryan posted the idea of it on Facebook, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I don't think we can pay you, but like who wants to jump on it?" And then Charlie was like, "Yeah, this sounds cool. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for free."
It's just amazing what happens if you just ask, if you just put stuff out there. You just don't know who's gonna want to help.
The sound designer did it, I think, for free. The guy that edited the video, like, I had to pay him like £100, but like that's fair. And then when I followed the editor on Instagram, the guy's editing like big music videos. He's editing Stone Island stuff. I paid him like pennies compared to what he's earning. Do you know what I mean?
He could get, yeah.
That's
really cool.
And then there was like color correction and stuff like that, and it was just like pretty much everybody did everything for free in a sense, and it was just like, wow. I've never met them. Do you know what I mean? I did later on find that the sound designer lives down the road from me. So yeah, it was cool.
That's
but yeah,
funny.
But yeah, he's a cool guy.
So
Never
were
spoken
you
to
like
him.
coordinating all these people, or was it a combination? Like were you all, you and the director,
So
kind of equally?
I only spoke to Ryan. I mean, I met Charlie on the shoot. But then after when the filming was done, he was just there like, cool, I know these people that will do it for you, like edit it and stuff. So yeah, I mean, I let him do it. And then I also have to give a big shout out to my friend Gianni. Gianni is a good friend of mine. We met in secondary school. He studied film and stuff in Cornwall, and so he came to Seven Sisters where we had that studio kind of space, that warehousey kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And then like he dressed the set and stuff like that. Like he was just like an extra pair of hands on it. So yeah, shout out to him. He was very helpful.
I hope that you get to do more. I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Have you got anything in the pipeline, like for audio visual projects, like videos?
Visuals. I have like some ideas of like how I want it to sound. I just didn't. I forgot to bring my hard drive, but I will show you the visuals.
So was that footage you've like gone out and shot with someone? Or?
It's not footage in terms of like
Oh, is
filming.
it like animated?
It's sort of it's just like
graphics or
it's sort of like a teaser in a sense, like a trailer. But I do want to end up filming some stuff and then like combining the two alongside music and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, because I'm really really busy now. It's just like if I do things like one at a time, it makes it easier for me. So yeah, I'm going to work on it during summer
when you've got a bit of a break.
Yeah, and then hopefully release in the winter time or maybe early next year. But you know, we never know. And then trying to finish my degree up as well.
Didn't know you were doing a degree.
Yeah,
I'm
doing video design for live performance, and like the goal was to combine visuals with music, and then like my dream is to do a set, right, where I've got like CDJs in front of me, and then some visual stuff, right, and then there's like an orchestra or like, you know, a live band, and I'm just controlling everything in a sense, and like they're playing my music, but like I've done pretty much everything. Like I've designed the set, I've designed the visuals for it, and I've got the music as well. Yeah, so that was what I kind of wanted to do, and that was like my aim in first year. But you know, life happens, and you know, you're introduced to so many things, you kind of like forget why you wanted to do it in the first place. But yeah, I kind of have now reaffirmed what I wanted to do. Have you ever seen performances from No Such Thing?
No.
So yeah, he is really cool.
No Sag Thing.
So, and oh my God, let's get it right. He is a Japanese, yeah. He is a Japanese producer, kind of.
Okay.
He's sort of
No Sag.
yeah.
No Sag.
He's sort of in that space of like Flying Lotus kind of vibes. So that like that LA beat making scene where like they just do what they want to do. But like he partners up with this Japanese visual artist, and they do some really, really wicked stuff. And like that's sort of what I kind of want my end to be. But like, you know, you can never ever predict the end and stuff like that. So yeah,
I'm gonna check that out.
yes,
That sounds really
please do.
cool. It's good to have that goal, and then the process takes you where the process takes you. But
yeah, there's this anime show called One Piece. So like One Piece is about like this guy called Luffy, and he's got a pirate crew, and he's going around the world, and then the last island is a place where the king of the pirates buried his treasure, right? But people have predicted that the island, there's not going to be much treasure. So the whole treasure thing was the journey. And I feel like that's what I want to do. I want to go on a journey, or like, make stuff with artists who really get what I'm trying to do, and I get what they're trying to do, and then make it in a sense. And I don't really care for like if people listen or don't, because I'm not in there to cater for people to listen. Do you know what I mean?
would you say it's still nice though when people do get it? Right?
Yeah.
If
like,
they do connect with it, that's a bonus, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you do what you do correctly and right, people will listen to you, and like you'll find your niche crowd,
your audience. I do think there's a huge difference between numbers, amount of people listening, and then the audience, people who actually care. You might get thousands, hundreds of thousands of streams, but who's coming to your gig?
Yeah,
because if all those listeners are in Tokyo and they're just like people that have it on in the background because you're part of a playlist, who's actually invested? Well, I don't think that translates very well at all.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time you're much better off really focusing on that journey, as you say, like that artistic journey of what you're trying to explore, what you're trying to say, I guess.
There is this really good video on how Brent Faiyaz, because he's got no deal, he's never signed a deal, right? And him and his manager used the Spotify, how like Spotify will tell you what cities are really listening to your music and stuff.
Yeah,
they did. So Brent Faiyaz did his first tour going to these cities and then just doing it on his own. Whereas like, say for example, you paid a lot of money for your PR, and people are really listening to you, and you don't really know what cities they're at. And then you do a show like in London, right? But like all your like listeners are in like Peru.
Yeah.
And it's not really gonna, go well for you, right? Say for example, right? I'm gonna use like real life examples, right? So there is J Hus, and like I love J Hus. J Hus is to me one of the Britain's best rappers. Like the way he does his thing, and he's so unapologetically himself in a sense. Like, who was rapping in the African accent before J Hus? You got what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like you'd get mocked for it, right?
Yeah.
But now it's like Parswaley, and I was just there like, oh, this guy is basically J Hus, but they can't control J Hus because whenever they ask him to release music, he doesn't do it. Do you know what I mean?
He's on his own journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've got this guy now. But like,
like a caricature.
Yeah.
That they can, like a puppet kind of thing.
And I'm not saying like Pete Parswaley is the carbon copy of J Hus, but like they were very, very, very similar at the start. So did you hear that song Frontline?
No, I don't know it.
Like it was very, very J Hus in a sense. And I was just there like, okay, cool. So your like PR people are now gonna say, we're gonna group you with J Hus and do, go through the J Hus route. But like, if people like J Hus and they want to buy J Hus's t-shirt, his merch and stuff like that, there's no room for you to sell your your merch as well. Do you know what I mean? It's like
I can see how much of a problem that could be, because, you know, labels want a sure bet, right?
Yeah.
And the issue with we'll say true artist, in the sense of someone who's innovated something, created an audience that wasn't there before, like a market for something that someone, you know, people said that people won't listen to that, and then say like MIA or something. Who was there before MIA? Like, she's one of a kind, right? So she's created a market, and then labels kind of go, there is that market there. That's something they can bank on, is that if you like MIA, you probably like something that sounds a lot like her.
Yeah.
They might not be as fanatical about it. They might not buy all the merch. But if you like basically carbon copy, you're guaranteed to make something. And like this guy will never be J Hus, but like,
yeah, but then
there's a reason they're doing it, right?
Are people like, so for example, if J Hus, what do you call it, gets like, I don't know, 5 million streams, right? People are listening to J Hus. What, they're not gonna, you know, past Whaley will probably get like 1.5 streams. Do you know what I mean? And that's, what do you call it? And I think, you know, if you're fine with that, then that's all good, you know. I
think lots of people are, sadly.
Yeah, of course. Like, get your money. Do you, right? But like, I would not be comfortable with that. Do you know what I mean? It's more, well, one, I'm like a copy of someone that's existed beforehand, and I guess a lot of artists now copy from places, right? But I don't want the people that I copy from to be one singular person. If I'm making a song, I take a chord progression from here, I take drums from here, I take, you know, violins from here, so you can't locate where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think a lot of people will respect you for your principles and the fact that you're doing this journey on your own terms and figuring out what that means. And yeah, I think we're going to wrap up now. But I want to thank you so much for sharing your story with me today.
It's all good.
I think your story is so moving, so inspiring. I hate using the word inspiring again, but I'm lacking the words for it. I think it's astonishing. And I really feel like this is only the beginning for you. I'm excited to see what's next in your creative journey. And now hopefully people listening as well will be joining you on that journey too. Thanks so much. If you enjoyed today's episode, we're on socials at Noise ITG Podcast. Give us a follow for more content and updates. Next time, I'll be talking with award-winning composer Ben Ramsden, who I met while studying composition at Trinity Laban Conservatoire. See you soon.